Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. This is the first video I've done for a little while because I've been sick, but it's so nice to be back and crafting. On Tuesday evening I made these 3 cards. We had a mystery card and I gave you all the measurements and we sort of all crafted together. And these are the 3 cards I made, which is a really simple little layout. And I spoke about these pieces maybe being embossed, and I thought today I would actually recreate this card. It'll be a little bit different, but I'll recreate this card and I'll emboss some of the pieces as well. So I'm still going to use the Hues of Happiness paper as my main paper. I don't know if you've seen, but I have a whole pile of these cut out. There is a die that goes with the set and you can use it to cut them out, but honestly they're so easy to fussy cut that you don't really even need the die. If you just wanted to use the paper for something, you could cut them out really simply and wouldn't even need to have the dies. But I am going to use this paper, and I'm going to use a tiny bit of a paper that retires this month. This is the Heart and Home paper, and I'm using this little design with the little flowers on the back. And I'm also using one of our new ink colours, and I'm using the Orchid Oasis cardstock. It's a really pretty purple, and I can see that I'm going to use this a lot. It's really, really pretty. So I've got my same base card that I started with on Tuesday, which is just half a piece of card, scored in the middle and burnished. So it's 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. But I will put all of the measurements onto my blog. You don't need to write them all down now. I've got, instead, I'll leave that there so you can see. Instead of just having the white card like I had on this one, I'm going to put a little colour layer. It's just 1/4 inch smaller, and that's going to give us a little bit more colour to work with. So I'm going to attach that, and I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal. You could use a liquid glue, you can use a tape runner, whoops, you can use tear and tape, whatever you work with. Okay, and I've actually cut 2 of these pieces because I'm going to use one inside as well. So I've got 2 pieces cut the same. And you can see how this gives us just a nice little border all the way around. Okay, I just dropped my scissors on the floor, so just needed to pick them up, sorry. Okay, so next we need the little piece of Designer Series paper. And I've cut it still at 2 inches, but I've cut it down to 5 1/8. Now this paper, I wanted the purple piece, and the paper is all stripes of colour. And so all I did was I cut off the little piece. Oh, I think it goes this way. I cut off a 4 inch strip all the way along, and then I just trimmed this down. I cut 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom to give me just those purple pieces that I wanted. I will use the other strips on something else. And I'm going to make it a little bit more in the middle this time because my little white pieces to go over the top, I've made them the same size. I don't need to offset it. So I'm just going to attach it onto there. And again, I'm just using my Stampin' Seal because it's quick and it's easy. It will have a smaller border. There will only be a tiny border at each side now. So just make sure you've got left and the right, sort of an even border. And then my white pieces, I've made them both the same size. So let me think what I cut these to. I cut them up 5 1/8 and 1 1/4. And last time when I was on the Facebook Live, I did 1 1/4 and 1 3/4, so they were slightly different. But this time I sort of wanted it to match top and bottom. And I popped it through an embossing folder that I don't use an awful lot actually, but I should do. It's the Bricks and Mortar embossing folder. I just put a 1/4 of a card piece in and ran it through. And it's one of the thicker embossing folders, one of the 3D embossing folders. It looks really pretty. and I really don't know why I haven't used it very much. And I'm going to pop these on with dimensionals again, and it will have that narrow border all the way. So, if you wanted to glue it down flat, you could do. I just like the look of it sort of raised up a bit, and it gives you a sort of a nicer view of the designer series paper. You get a little bit of shadow on there, and it just, you know, just a bit more 3D. It just looks a little bit different. Okay, let's take all these backings off. I'm just going to check which one goes at the top and the bottom, because I've cut them so that it's just the matching pattern. Okay. Now it's going to have that little very, very narrow border. Line up your left and right, and I'm just going to make sure that this one is lined up as well. I find it easier to turn the card around. I just find it easier to see that way. Okay, so this is going to be the matching piece for the bottom. Let's put some dimensionals on there as well. Thank you to everybody who's sent me cards and get well wishes. I have missed being on my YouTube channel and doing my videos, but with the sore throat and the cough that I had, I just couldn't do anything for nearly a month. So it's so nice to be back. And the sun is shining, and it looks beautiful out there. So it's a good day to craft. Okay, so that's our base. But you can see it's the same layout. I've just slightly changed this top piece. I've made it the same as the bottom piece, so a little bit narrower, and I've embossed it. Okay, and of course we've got that colour layer behind. Now for this piece that goes in the middle, I'd used Misty Moonlight to match this paper, but because I'm using the Orchid Oasis, I've actually cut a square. I've got a 3-inch square of it, and then this is the little piece of designer series paper from the Heart and Home. And maybe now you can see why I chose that embossing folder, because these had the lines on and I thought it would echo the pattern through. I'm just going to attach this. I'll carry on using my stamping seal. Okay. I'm just going to pop this. It's got the 1/4 inch border round, not got the tiny border. And instead of being at one side, I'm going to put it right in the middle, so that you can see a nice little piece of the designer series paper at the left and at the right. And I have my flower. I've got the same one from last night, and I've got the same 2 little sets of leaves. But instead of having my sentiment on here, I'm going to add it to here. If you do a sentiment on an embossed piece, it's easier to stamp first and then emboss. It's very difficult to stamp over embossing. You get little bits missing and everything. So I'm going to go with this. And for my sentiment, I'm going to use a different stamp set. I want to use the thank you from the art gallery set. So I'm just using this little thank you and the die from here, the small die, which is this one. And it fits just perfectly with the thank you. Okay. So I have already cut out the die shape. It's just a very small piece. And you can see I've been cutting pieces out. You can stamp first and then put the die over and put it through your cut and emboss machine, like this, and just run it through. Or you can cut out your piece first, like this, and then stamp. It doesn't matter. I've got mine, a little piece cut out here, so I'm just going to stamp that. And I'm using the Orchid Oasis ink to do that with. The thing I like about this is I like the font. It's a really clear, easy font to read. And there's no little bits that I'm going to miss. I know it'll just fit in there perfectly because the die goes with the stamp set. Sometimes when I use a die, it might not be from the same stamp set and it might might be just a bit too small or a bit too wide. So I like it when the dies and the stamps match. Okay, so I'm going to pop this on here, and instead of putting it flat like I did on this one, I'm going to put it on a little angle because I want my little sentiment to have enough room as well. Okay, so let's put that on first. I know that this is not going in the mail, so I'm quite happy to put 2 lots of dimensionals on. If I mail to the UK, often if I have 2 sets of dimensionals on, then it will cost me extra postage. Not so much if I'm sending in Canada. I think it really depends on who's in the mail office when I go in and how they measure it. But definitely for the UK, if I have 2 sets on, they don't like it. Okay, now I'm going to use the edge pieces from our dimensionals, because it's a nice long piece that goes perfectly on this die cut. And I know, because I use this one a lot, I know that 3 little mountains is the perfect size for it. Okay, so I'm going to pop that at the bottom. And then I'm just going to attach my leaves. I am going to glue these ones on. I don't want those ones to be sort of raised up. I just want them to be glued under the flower. And I'm going to pop one under here. And it doesn't matter if they overlap the edge of your little piece of card here. There's plenty of room for them. Okay, so just popping that there. And then while that's drying, I'm going to do my piece for my inside. You remember I said I'd cut 2 of the Orchid Oasis pieces? So here's the other one, and I cut a little piece of basic white as well. This is cut at the same size, but I'm just going to trim it down. So I know that I need it sort of 1/8 of an inch less all the way around. So let's get my trimmer. And what size did I cut this? Let me see. It's cut at 5 1/8, so I can cut this at 5. I'm just going to take 1/8 of an inch off all the way around. And then it will be 3 3/4. Okay. I just want the inside to sort of echo the front a little bit. And by having that extra little pop of colour, that makes it all match. Probably for my envelope, I will use another piece of this designer series paper and put that on the envelope flap, so that matches too. Just make sure I get this even and that there's just that little border all the way around. There we go. And I've got another one of the little flowers that I'd cut out. I'm going to just pop it on the side like this. I'm not going to put it on dimensionals. I'm only just going to glue it down. So, glue a little flower. Put it on a little angle. There we go. And then these little leaves from the same piece of designer series paper that I just fussy cut as well. There we go. And if you wanted to put more leaves on or more flowers, you could do that too. Okay, so this piece is going to go on the inside. Oops, let's move that one out of the way. You see it's got that nice border all the way around it too. And it just sets off the inside. It just makes it look that little bit prettier. And then this one, now that it's dry, we're going to attach it to the front. We only need adhesive at the top and the bottom. We don't need it underneath in the middle because otherwise it's going to stick to that paper. And you could use a tear and tape because it's a little bit stronger than the Stampin' Seal, or you could use Stampin' Seal Plus. I'm just going to pop it on with this. And I'm going to try and make sure that it's in the middle, top and bottom and left and right. That looks pretty good. And then last of all, I'm just going to put some little rhinestones on. I do love these, which are the gems that go with the Hues of Happiness set, but it's not quite the right colour for what I want today. So I've got lots of colour already, so I'm just going to use my basic rhinestones. And let me see, I might use some of the big and some of the small. I don't have any medium ones on here. Oh, just one medium one. And I think I might just pop them. Let's see. Take those out. I might just pop them over here. I might pop 3 over here. And 2 at the bottom. Oops, let's move that one up a bit. There we go. And where's that medium one? I'm going to use that medium one as well. And let me see. Let's just pop them over here. I don't always put 5 on, but I think for this, it looks really pretty with some at either side. And it sort of continues from the leaf then as well. So there we are. If you check on my blog, I'll put all the supplies, the measurements, everything I've used. But there is my sort of slightly updated card that I made on Tuesday, just with a few extra little bits, just a background layer, some embossing, and I moved the whole image to the middle. So I hope you like that. I hope you'll give it a go. And thank you again for your support while I've been sick and for waiting for me to come back and do more videos. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend and I'll see you all again really soon. Bye bye.